In this video, I'm going to talk about a concept called dominant resolution. Now, before I get into that, I want to remind you that in a previous video on suspended chords, we talked about how the fourth and the seventh scale degrees are the two most unstable scale degrees in the entire major scale. And why is that? Well, we've got the one, which is super stable. I mean, it is home. That's like sort of definition of stability. That's when we're playing in the key of A major, your ear always wants to land on one. That's the ultimate resolution. 3 and 5 are pretty stable, kind of falling in behind 1. And so the 1 and the 3 and the 5 of the scale are the three kind of most stable notes in the scale. Now you might ask the question why, and that answer requires physics. It has to do with the harmonic overtone series, which is beyond the scope of this video, but it's really, really cool if you want to look it up. So we got the 1, the 3, and the 5. They're the most stable notes. In fact, you can prove this to yourself. If you just play the A major scale and then land on any one of these notes, like go do, re, mi, fa. Sorry, I don't know if this is in the key of A, but do, re, mi, fa, so. Feels like you could hang out there for a while. So, do. That definitely feels like very stable. Do, re, mi, re, do. Do's home. It's very stable. So is pretty good. Do, re, mi is pretty good, but let's take a look at the sixth one. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, so, la, so. La kind of wants to resolve back to so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5. Instead of saying do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, I might just go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because that's a little bit more intuitive because that's what I have written here. So let's keep going. So what if I landed on the 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. The 2 is not that stable. It wants to resolve to the 1. And so we have, so far we've explored the 1, the 3, and the 5 in terms of stability. We've explored the 2 and the 6. Our most stable note by far is the 1. Our second close runner-up is the 5. Third runner-up is 3. And then 2 and 6 both want to resolve to notes next to them. Now let's look at 4 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, la, da. There's just, the fourth note is very close to the third note, and you just would never ever want to land unless you were going for an effect. You wouldn't want to land on 4 and then stay there forever. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3. 3 feels like a resting place if I'm hanging out on this 4. 4, 3 feels really nice. Or what if I try to land on the 7 and hang out there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. You hang out on that 7 and just you feel that pull. It wants to go to 1. It really, really wants to go to 1. So what we've just discovered in a very low-tech way is that the 4 and the 7 are very unstable, and the 4 wants to move to 3 and the 7 wants to move to 1. Why do I bring this up in the context of dominant resolution? Because the dominant chord of any key is built starting on the 5th scale degree. And going up in thirds, you have the 5th scale degree, the 7th scale degree, the 2, and the 4. So in this chord, you have the 2 most unstable tones in the entire scale. You have the 7 and the 4. And here I have the A major triad, which is built on the 3 most stable notes. You've got the 1, the 3, and the 5, which is what we just discovered. And I've written this out sort of, you can imagine I've got 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, another 5, just to demonstrate this for kind of mathematical purposes. So if I play an E dominant 7 chord, and if you're sitting at a piano, go ahead and just play it. Play the notes E, G sharp, B, and D. And what you're going to notice is that, first of all, there's tension inherent in the chord. Why? Because the interval from G sharp to D is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 half steps, which is a tritone. You can go check our intervals chart here, and 6 half steps is a tritone. Tritones are the most dissonant interval in Western music. In fact, tritones used to be called, back in the day, like 16th, 17th century, they used to be called the devil's tone, and they were avoided in composition, especially in Christian music, because they thought that this interval was so demonic that it would call forth the devil. So there's inherent tension between these two notes. And not only that, but they're the 7th and the 4th scale degree of a major scale. And so this 7 wants to pull back to 1, and this 4 wants to pull back to 3. And so anytime you play a dominant 7 chord, there's a really strong pull for the 7 to go to the 1 and the 4 to go to the 3. And so basically you have the 3rd of the dominant 7 chord, which is G sharp, and the 7th of the dominant 7 chord, which is D, wanting to go back to the 1 and the 3 of A, which are A and C sharp. So just go back and forth at the piano and play these notes. Play E, G sharp, B, D, push them all down at the same time, and then next play E, A, C sharp. You'd be playing an A major triad in the second inversion, and just go back and forth. Play this, then play this, and just feel that resolution in your body. It's going to feel strong. Like when you play this chord, it just wants to go to this chord. Like that's just where it wants to go. So E dominant 7, it wants to go back to A major, and this is a 5 to a 1 resolution, and we call that the dominant resolution. So anytime you're playing a dominant 7 chord, it wants to go back to the 1.